Hello, everyone, and welcome to Support Someone Saturday. I'm so excited to be here today with Pastor Eldon Tracy. He is the president and co-founder of Feeding Children Worldwide. How are you, Pastor Tracy?
I'm doing great today. Thank you so much, Amy.
Okay, good to know. I'm glad you're here with us. So you are a busy man. I got to tell you all about Pastor Tracy. Not only is he the president and co-founder of Feeding Children Worldwide, but he and his wife, Twyla, are going to celebrate 46 years of marriage and ministry this coming May 24th of 2021. Congratulations. That's huge. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm proud of her. She's been put up with me.
Oh, she's such a sweetheart. So yes, say hello to Twyla for us.
I will do that.
All right, thank you. Feeding Children Worldwide is a nonprofit humanitarian organization. It was started in 1998, and it was started to answer the needs to provide meals for the school in Luanda, Angola. And I'm sure you'll tell us about that a little bit. Today,
Sure.
The organization, provides meals to several feeding programs in the Philippines and South America. And they also provide support for various orphanages around the world. Pastor Tracy has also served since 1996 as president and co-founder of the Abundant Life Association, which is a missions organization. And he has served since 2008 as president of Open University of the Bible, which is a school reaching into Portuguese-speaking nations to train Christians and church leaders. You are busy. I think you don't sleep.
I do. I am busy, but I get to sleep too.
That's awesome. I love that. I love doing different things too. So I admire that you're doing many things. So I have to mention that we met years ago. I attended Christian Life College. I think you were teaching there back then in the mid 90s.
Yes.
And I feel like you were also out on the mission field at some point and during that time that I was there. But I met you and your wife. And of course, Eric and I attended Christian Life Church for years, and his dad, Fred Job, was on staff there as pastor. And then I think over the years, we've stayed in touch through the Ascension Convention, which is the college convention that's put on every Easter. And of course, last year it was online, I think. And then the year before, we talked a lot. So it's been great to stay in touch with you and Twyla. And I'm thankful for Facebook and social media too. So yeah.
That's
so
right.
Yes, I'm glad you are here. And I would love for you to tell us more about FCW, or Feeding Children Worldwide. How did it get started?
Well, it really started in 1996. The idea, we had actually gone to a funeral of a friend, and there were a lot of us who went to the same Bible school. We went out they were having kind of supper together, and we were there to offer our condolence to this loss of the wife. And so then as we started talking, a friend mentioned, well, don't you remember this pastor? And I said, well, yeah. He said, well, he works in Minneapolis now at this food group, and they have a container of food for Angola, but they have no one to send it to. Someone came in and donated the money for a 40-foot container, which is like $40,000. And
Wow.
they have it, and they're looking for someone to give it to. And of course, we were feeding 1,500 kids a day at that time. And so we'd gotten food from CBN, the 700 Club, through their program. And then, and we were looking for food. And then I went home and I called Richard Sambach, who was then the executive director of the program there in Minneapolis. And they said, yes, they did have that container, but they would need freight money to give it to us. And it was a 40-foot container. And at that time, it was only $1,650 and $1,650. And actually, Christian Life Church took up an offering, and it came out to $1,650. And so Christian Life Church was to pay for that 40-foot container, which is like 300,000 meals for our kids in Angola.
Wow, awesome.
And then September, then we went to visit them in August. One of the representatives of AVA came, and two of us drove up to Minnesota and thanked them for that container. And in September, the Lord spoke to me, and he said, I want you to open something similar in Chicago. And at that time, the group was doing satellites. So I said, Lord, they were so disorganized and so confused, and they don't have what they're just not organized. And so I prayed. I didn't think it was the time. So then some months passed, and in February of the next year, which is 1998, uh, two friends. I asked Larry Collada and Ken Zwadlo to go with me. And the three of us drove up to Minnesota and looked over their operation and talked with them, and actually became a satellite of them. And then eventually it became Feeding Children Worldwide, because they stopped doing satellites. But we came back with the desire to provide nutritious meals. And then, so we came home to the Sunday school convention, was the Friday and Saturday. And so that weekend I talked to 500 different people, and I just needed three things. I needed a building, a forklift, and of course, money. And, the first miracle was the building, because it was that Saturday night, and I talked to 500 people on Friday and Saturday about this with a booth at the Chicago Sunday School Convention. And I asked the Lord, what should I do? He said, well, write these two brothers. And so I wrote the two brothers the same letter, just addressed each differently. And I mailed it Saturday night. Now here's the first miracle. On Monday morning, they each got their letter. Wow. I mailed it Saturday night, and they had the letter Monday morning. And they talked to each other, and they called me. And on Tuesday, the one brother said, well, I have this building. And so I went over to look at the building, and he was sharing it with a lot of other people. But I said, well, no, what the Lord gives you, be thankful and move in. So I moved in a desk and a telephone. And then the other brother said, well, where are you at? And I told him, and he said, well, he shares that with everybody. That's not good. And so eventually that family has furnished free for us a warehouse and office now for 23 years.
Wow.
In the Chicagoland area, it's big. It's a big donation, that's and so they help us. And even today in Streamwood, we have a nice location and office warehouse. And so that was a miracle. And then eventually the biggest thing we needed was money. And so through the years, we've done several different things, but that's how Feeding Children Worldwide became. And we want, and for about 5 years, we worked on getting food and getting other donations there. And then it just became impossible to ship to our school. So we came to a kind of a crossroads. What would we do with Feeding Children Worldwide? Because we went on to do some other projects. And one of our goals was rescuing kids through food and education, rescuing adults through literacy and job training, and rescuing communities through training pastors and planting churches and building schools and medical clinics. So that was our missions goal. But when we founded Feeding Children Worldwide, we chose the same objectives so that we could work together with the two. And in 2000, then the Rotary Club of Chicago O'Hare became our covering Rotary Club for District 6450, the Rotarians. And they have helped us all these years, and since, that's 21 years. And they do 2 packs a year. Plus they sponsor a couple of packs at schools for us. And so they have been really, and when we were doing small amounts of food, we actually had Ross was one of the members there, and he was a part of a shipping company. And when we sent humanitarian aid to Sri Lanka, we sent water purifiers after the tsunami. And Ross actually got us free freight all the way to Sri Lanka. And the free freight came about this. He was sending a jumbo jet every day to Hong Kong. And he had a lot of space on that. But when he got to Hong Kong to get to Sri Lanka, they didn't have space. And so they took up a donation among all the employees of the airline in Hong Kong to pay the freight for us to Sri Lanka for these water purifiers. So we were so thankful. And so then when we looked we made that decision at that turn and said, well, we're going to keep Feeding Children Worldwide open. We're going to do as much as we can, what'll come to us. And we'll look for different missions out connected with the Chicagoland area to send our food to.
Yeah,
and so then we, through Christian Life, we met Teresa Loic, and she had an interest in her pastor in the Philippines and helping street kids with the gospel and food. And so we've had that going on. And there we went to an orphanage there. We helped that orphanage with food. So we have these 3 projects in the Philippines. And then our satellite about 10 years ago, of course, I'm talking a long time here. I should let you talk. But about 10 years ago, we opened the satellite. And so that satellite sends to South America. So basically,
Nice.
all the food we do now goes either to the Philippines or it goes to South America, to a country that's closed to receive it. So we send it to Colombia and then take it on over to the 9 orphanages. So that's basically kind of how we got started. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the mission, but you're kind of going into that a little bit, right? About how you're bringing this food overseas. But yeah, tell us more about what is the mission, and if you didn't cover anything, yeah.
Yeah, our mission as an organization is to provide opportunity for groups and individuals to provide nutritious meals and pack those meals for needy children. And so we establish that mission. What we do then is we coordinate, and so many of these groups have been helping since 2000 or since 1998. And individuals, we have we have a few sponsors who've helped every year, every month since then. So it's helped us tremendously. And that's our basic goal, is provide opportunity for individuals or people to provide nutritious meals and pack those meals for needy children overseas.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love the whole concept that you're getting groups of people together. And I know even within our family, we're always looking for ways to serve. And when we can involve our children, or even now we're leading a family small group at our church, and our family small group wants to serve. So we're looking for ways, how can we come together as a group? And so maybe we can talk a little bit more about this as the interview goes on. But I wanted to ask you, where are you helping, needy children? Where does FCW, what countries are you helping needy children in?
Yeah, so what we have our focus is right now in the Philippines, and our downstate satellites is focused on helping in Venezuela. And so we don't talk about that a lot, but South America. And so what we do is we have just 3 programs in the Philippines. One's an orphanage, one's a street kids. We have about 500 street kids. And those, then what we do is provide a meal for them. And then we provide a Bible club. And so that way they get the gospel as well. And Twyla and I try to go every 3 years to visit the project there. But that's basically what, now we do a couple times a year, we do a larger packs. We've done at Hinsdale Middle School. We did 50,000 meals. And we did a couple of other schools where we've done 10 or 14,000. And that's really more meals than our small project needs. So what we've done is we've partnered with a group in Minnesota, and they help provide for street kids, food and street kids in the dump in the Philippines, Manila, Philippines. And so so that's basically what we're doing today. In the past, we've sent to disaster all the until Action Ministries in Houston represents Feeding Children Worldwide, and they do disaster relief in America and overseas. And so with when Gordon was president there, we participated in sending to Rita and Katrina, and then we sent food to under a bridge in New Jersey during a problem there, and they were trying to feed 15,000 people a day under a bridge. And and so that was that's kind of where our food has gone. So I don't have a complete list today, but on our brochure we just have Angola, Mexico, hurricane relief, Pakistan, India, Zambia, Honduras, Sri Lanka, and Indonesia. So we've sent material of projects to each of those countries, and but most of our food today that we produce goes to the Philippines or goes to South America.
That's awesome. It's good to hear like all the countries you're covering. I think that's amazing. Many more countries than I realized. And then just the disaster relief too. I think that's really helpful, because I just feel like as a mom, the sense of urgency you could have when something goes wrong. Eric and I went through a hard time during the recession when our son was born with health issues, and just knowing, all the medical bills and just that need for your basic, things. And I can't imagine being in another country, like even here, like in America, maybe people fall back on credit or whatever they do. We have more food pantries, right? I know we support our local food pantry, but I feel like over in other countries, they don't even probably have those resources, and so I can't imagine the sense of panic and urgency to get food, and especially during disasters and things like that. So I think that's awesome. you know, what you're doing, and you're working with Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota.
That's
And you
good.
know, I love that. Partner
Well,
with-
one of the things that's important is we do custom packing. So we don't,
Okay.
when by custom packing, like Maria called us, and she's a new family. She has a birthday in September. So she called me and asked, well, I said, well, you know, she said, could I do a backyard pack? And I said, well, yes, we asked for a donation of $600, and that $600 provides for 2,160 meals. And we actually take the tables, set them up in our backyard. We'll set them up in our backyard, and we'll do the meals. Kibitz, there in Mount Prospect, he called me one day. Said, my friends my parents are coming from India, and he said, I'd like to honor them and do this pack and invite all the people at my work. And so about 30 people showed up. And we did 3 packs in their backyard, which is like 6,000 meals. And so they want to try to do that every year until the pandemic came. But then we do Rotary clubs and we do schools. But and so that's it's an opportunity. And the advantage of our program is, of course, we carry liability insurance. But what we do is we customize our visit to your timing. So we do ask you to raise a minimum of $600, and then for every $60 over, we can pack an extra box. But and each box contains 216 servings. And so what happens then is that we prearrange the time, and so we come and set things up 15 to 20 minutes, and then to pack the meals, and the meals are boxed, and we load everything up and take it back, and then we ship it out to overseas. So.
That's awesome. I love that you even do custom packs. And that's what I was going to ask you next. Like, say our small group wanted to get involved and help pack, or people listening right now, you know, or watching, or saying, hey, I want to get my youth group, my church, my Rotary club. First of all, can we do that right now? I know with COVID, there's a loosening of restrictions, right? Things are starting to go back, but tell us, how can we get involved, and are we able to do that right now? You know, with our current state of things. Yes,
I think that now down in Jackson, Illinois, where our satellite is, they're open to do that. But in the Cook County, since we're located in Streamwood, it depends on which county you're in, how open it is. But of course, we already wear gloves and aprons, and all we have to do is bring a mask, and we could actually furnish masks too. But you can because we're already dealing with gloves and aprons and hair nets, and you just and then if you're a group that's together anyway, in other words, if you're a family or a home group study, well, you're together every week. So coming together to do a pack in your backyard, or inviting some family members to come, then I think it's safe, and it just depends in the town, the community you're in. And the county you're in at this point. But we actually have been closed down for packs since March in the Chicagoland area, and mostly because of just concern for, we are planning on opening in September. And so most of our scheduling now is scheduling for the month of September and beyond. And normally our packing season is September through May or into June. So the one family does in June. And since we do custom packs, we do custom, by that, you just give us a phone call, you know, or send us an email. And my email is Eldon at feedingchildrenworldwide.com. And so it's spelled out. So I got really creative with that when I did that. And then the phone number just is 630-639-1408. So either you could send a text to that number, or 630-639-1408, or call me. And then what we do ask you to do is, we do ask the group to raise $600, which is $60 a box. And usually, you know, if you have 10 friends and ask each of them to sponsor a box, and that's sponsoring 216 servings or meals for kids. And so it's not, it doesn't sound like rocket science. And then of course, if you get more money, to get packed more meals, and that's even better. We like that. We like all the meals we can get, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, so you're saying $600, it covers 216 meals. Is that it?
No, it covers 2,160 meals,
Oh,
but each box
wow.
costs $60. So the sponsorship of one box is 216 servings.
Got it. Okay.
Which we call meals. And so we
Got
call
it.
a serving a meal. So
yeah, that's a lot. So that's great. So you could get a group together. Maybe I can talk to you about it because we are in
Sure.
McHenry County. So we go to Willow Creek in Huntley, and we live in
Yes.
Huntley. So we're in McHenry County. So maybe we could do something here at our house, or
Yeah, do it in the backyard. Do it in the backyard. I know that Chris said, what happens if it rains? Well, if it rains, if you got any kind of I don't know, it doesn't rain every day.
yeah, or move it inside. Or
move it in the garage. Move it in the garage.
There you go. See, where there's a will,
so
there's a way.
Yeah, so we set up 3 tables. So it's just 3 8-foot tables.
Okay.
And those tables are set up, and that's all the space you need. So to package it, and you can have up, 30 people, 15 to 30 people are a good number for a pack.
Okay.
And done it as little as 6 people, because when you get to early Yak and Interact clubs, like in high schools, sometimes they have a small club, and yet they sponsor. So we've gone where, and then not everybody comes that day, and and then we always bring 2 people to help, and so you always have us to help, and so we always have a lot of fun doing it. And I know
That's
Larry
great.
Collada, he volunteered with me for 21 years. He said, listen, I got to retire. He says, I'm 80 years old. And he says, I just got to retire. And I said, well, Larry, it's okay. I guess, you can volunteer for 20 years and retire. I guess it's okay, but we had so much fun. He didn't want to stop because we had so much fun,
That's awesome.
And,
That's
so
awesome.
it's a wonderful thing. And we're trying to transition. We want to, I'm in a 5-year transition. I keep saying 5 years so that I can find a younger group of people. And because all of us, our board is basically the founding board 23 years ago. So all of us are more mature, and our oldest board member is 80. And our youngest board member is but anyway.
Okay, something to pray about, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, I will do that. Thank you for sharing that, because maybe people are watching right now and like, hey, we want to get on board. I mean, I love what you're doing. I think it's awesome. So yeah. I'll be
we have a couple of programs. We have, of course, the President's Club, and the idea of the President's Club was to solicit people who would help with $100 a month or $1,000 a year or more, and that would help to pay our overhead. And if actually we have a free warehouse donated, but about 9 years ago, brother-in-law of the owner asked me, well, you should at least pay the utilities. And so I said, well, okay. We'll pay the utilities. So we do have a basic, insurance and stuff like that we keep up. We're all volunteer organization. So we do have a basic budget. And so we solicit people to be part of the President's Club to help with $100 a month, $1,000 or more a year. And then that enables us to, all the money we receive in donation and packs then goes towards meals versus
overhead.
Paying overhead. And that's and I like that myself. But we are an all volunteer organization, so we don't, on the outside, some people say, well, you could do a lot more. And I said, well, yeah, we could do a lot more. And we want to transition to the next generation would be a paid generation versus being all volunteer generation. And so that would be a nice transition. So and we also have a box a month sponsorship, and when we started, it was $45 a box. Today, it's $60 a box. So we have some people who sponsor that box. And then when we go places, they can't fully raise the money. A lot of times in a school club, we'll do extra boxes there that have been prepaid by box a month sponsors. And then we have a program for the Philippines, which is sponsor a child in our program there for $100 a year. And then that sponsors one of our children in the Philippine street program. And so that's another opportunity to just give a one-time gift of $100. and to sponsor a child in the Philippine program. And
That's
so
great that you're doing that.
yeah, so those are the basic ways to help. And then we take money. We're not against taking money, and we always like to be good stewards of the money we get. So we always say thank you. And so
Yes.
from the very beginning, we pursued. We wanted to pursue. We have a plus program, and the plus program is we take 10% of all cash received, and then we provide food for mom and pop orphanages.
Nice.
And so that way we provide, as we receive money, we take out what we consider our tithe, and we take that out, and so we send for food for 2 orphanages that, if you help people locally who have a passion to be the parents of needy children, of orphans. There are 400 million orphans in our world.
Wow.
Just 400 million. So there's plenty to go around.
Yeah.
So we do that, and that's always been a joy to do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you do that. I love hearing that. I didn't know there were so many orphans. I knew there had to be a lot, but just hearing that. So I think it's awesome you do that. And I love the sponsorship aspect, because we sponsor children through World Vision. We've been involved in that for a while. But I think it's so important. I remember hearing someone from a different organization share at a Christian concert. If every Christian in the world would sponsor one child, there'd be like no children left to be sponsored. Like it's a problem that we can solve. Just like we've worked to run for clean water for Team World Vision. And they said by 2030, if every organization keeps giving, and then more organizations have started to bring clean water to third world countries, they said by 2030, this crisis should be ended. Every person should have clean water. So it's like, we need to get that vision too for these orphans and people that need to be sponsored, so that every child can get 3 meals and go to school. Yeah, that's on my heart too. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, we talked a little bit about how COVID has affected the organization. Is there any other ways that you're seeing it affect, like with giving, or is it harder to get supplies and meals to countries, or is there any other ways it's affected what you do?
Well, in our case, we were very, very fortunate in the sense that Hinsdale Middle School had planned to do a large pack, and so they opted to have a lot of the parents who had sent money to sponsor that pack. When it came down to COVID, the school said, "Well, you've received money, and we've received money, and so we need to give parents the opportunity to redirect that money or to refund them the money." Yeah. And so we were fortunate that when we asked those parents, about 99% of them chose to redirect the money to help us during the COVID difficulty. And so we actually have some money still left over.
Wow.
That gift has covered our costs then since last March. Nice. And of course, our budget is minimum because we don't pay salaries. And so we were very the Lord helped us in that sense, and the school was so nice to do that, and the parents were so wonderful of that middle school, and they do a pack. Their plan is to do a pack every 3 years, so that in that middle school, in one of those 3 years, you have that experience as a whole school packing meals for needy children. And so we're delighted to be the group that they chose to do that, and we try to honor them. Huge. And in that, and they have some great leadership there, and some great parent teachers association, great leadership. And so that was so kind of them to do that, to help us. And then, so COVID for us just kind of brought a standstill. And in overseas it did too, because some of our programs had to stop. The Philippines was shut down as a nation as well. And so just recently, in late November, then we started our program up again in the Philippines. And so we were fortunate that Stewart, Minnesota had donated food for our South American projects and 9 orphanages in that country. And so we were had donated food, of course, for South America as well. So when the Stewart, Minnesota gave us a donation of food, we were able to take food from that and send food to the project in the Philippines. Nice. So what we're doing now is we're we're starting another satellite in North Missouri, and so we're hoping that, because Missouri is a state that's open, so we're hoping to do 6 packs between now and September in Missouri. And then we've already the satellite has some packs scheduled. Of course, their food will be designated to South America. But so we're hoping to kind of bring together a group in North Missouri to kind of do the marketing leading, because I kind of have my hands full. So,
Yeah.
but
Just a little bit.
but I want to. So we're hoping for that and believing for that, working towards that, and so we have some good indications so far, and so next month we're kind of going to launch the promotion of that in North Missouri. This month I'm on a different project. I'm raising a supplemental budget for our online Bible school, and so I'm on raising that in 1 month instead of having it all raised for the entire year from April to April. So when April comes, we'll have that supplemental budget fixed, and then I'm going to pursue raising a supplemental budget for Feeding Children Worldwide, so the money's fixed to pay the bills for a year.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great idea.
So it's a lot of groups do that. They raise the money this year for next year, and so I'm trying to do that so that we don't have to. We can focus just on marketing, more so on marketing than concerned about paying this month's bills.
Yeah, that's great. I wish you all the best on that. I hope it's very successful. Yeah.
Thank you.
So what makes you want to do this? I want to ask you, why have you and your wife, Twyla, been involved and given 23 years to Feeding Children Worldwide?
Well, it's interesting that the Lord called Twyla and I to be missionaries when we were children. She used to play as a missionary at 3 years old. I have some picture of her with her big Bible, and she'd get her cats and her dolls, and she'd preach to them. Well, the dolls stayed, but the cats wouldn't stay for her. And I was called when I was 9 years. So Twyla and I had the honor of serving 12 years assigned to overseas. We lived 4 years in Portugal, 4 years in Brazil. And in Brazil, then I had the opportunity to help complete the building of 16 schools for kids. And in the process of that, then I visited I visited all 36 schools that were associated with the TV ministry that I was helping with. And so I visited all those places. And so I know the need of children and the need of, and the heartache of poverty. And so we just felt, we were, the Lord gave us that assignment, and we had 17 unfinished projects. We were able to finish 16. And Nova America, on the Amazon highway, we weren't able, they just turned over too many pastors too fast. And so we weren't able to help there. But that gave us a heart for that. And then in 1992, when I left that mission, then I went to Portugal and we reformed AVA, which in the States is called Abundant Life Association. There it's called Associação Vida Abundante. And so my friend there, they were both refugees from Angola, and they lived in Portugal, and they had a passion to go back and help Portuguese Africa. And so we had been long-term friends since the early 80s. And so we walked and talked for a week, and we formed those 3 goals. One was rescuing kids through food and education. So that really began the next year. Then a Korean brother came to start a church and be the leader of our first school. And before long, he had thousands of kids. And he was a ship's cook before God called him into being a missionary. So he knew how to cook.
Nice.
And so he was feeding 1,500 kids before we knew it,
Wow.
And then it took us, there were some interesting insights. One thing, it took us a long time because we'd get there and there were 7,000 kids sleeping outside. And he could only feed 1,500 a day, but the 1,500 weren't the same kids every day.
Wow.
So there's 7,000 kids in line, and he could only feed 1,500.
Wow.
The rest of the kids would sleep in line, not to lose their place in line.
Oh my goodness.
And so we tried to persuade him, Young, you need to feed the same kids every day. But so we finally, the Lord worked. And of course, the beginning, so we had a passion to rescue kids through food and education. And of course, culturally, it's so important, you know, when you take a child's picture in Angola, you take a picture of the whole child, not his face. You and I are interested in faces in our culture. So you look at me, you know, you're not, but they were interested in seeing the whole child. And the reason is because of landmines.
Oh,
that they have all their members. Are they complete? Are they whole? And so then, so anyway, that gave us a heart to help kids, and a heart to help their parents, help their own families, and a heart to help communities. And so then the Lord has just led us, and we've done, of course, Rotary is a great humanitarian organization, and they came alongside us, and we helped them and they helped us. And for 10 years, I was a member of O'Hare, Chicago O'Hare. Today I'm an honorary member, but just because of geography, but it's an opportunity to help children. So
that's awesome.
I have these three principles. It was author Ash, the great tennis player, I think, who suggested these three. He says, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can.
That's great.
Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So
good message.
All of my life, I've done that. So when I heard that saying, I said, hey, that's pretty good. You know, I like that.
That's really good. I really think that resonates, you know, like all of us can do something, right? Yeah.
Right. Sometimes we think we don't have anything to give. I was out in North Carolina with a friend of mine, and we were driving along, and he said, there was a time my wife and I ran a hardware store. And so we had nothing to give. And he said, I kept hearing the Lord said to me, sow into somebody, sow. And I said, how can I sow when I have no money? And so he said, well, who owes you? And he said, who owes me? So he asked his wife, the bookkeeper, and she brought in the list of everyone who had unpaid bills.
Okay.
And the Lord told him, it says, sow forgiveness in all those people, and I'll send forgiveness for your debts. Because he wanted to sell the store, but he couldn't. It wasn't making a profit, and he owed too much. And so that day he wrote a letter forgiving all these people who couldn't pay their bills, forgiving their debts. And so we always can give the seed. I love the 4 truths about Jesus was teaching the Sermon on the Mount. And he gives us 4 truths that move the hand of God. And the number one you need to put there is forgiveness. Moves the hand of God in our favor. Secondly is giving. When you sow to someone you have and someone else doesn't have, that's a gift down. That's an alm. You're giving to someone you have, so you give to someone who doesn't. It's not the amount that counts. It's the fact that you sense that God would have you give. And you sow, that's a seed down. And if you sow that seed down, then you can claim the 7 promises for remembering the poor. Sometimes we think, well, I'm poor. But you see, if you have 25 cents in your pocket and it's really yours, you're among the 2/3 most richest people in the world.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that perspective.
And then the other 2 things is fasting. So you have forgiveness, you have giving, you have praying, and you have fasting. And those things move the hand of God.
I agree.
And when you read Psalm 41, it tells 7 promises for those who remember the poor. And so when you sow down, you remember the poor, and it comes back to you. The greatest gift is long life. Of course, the greatest gift we know is eternal life.
Yes, I agree.
You know, so that's kind of an insight.
Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. I'm going to go read Psalm 41 after this. Thank you, Pastor Tracy. I love listening to you. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to read Psalm 41, and that's our assignment for today. If you're watching this,
it. And there's 7 promises. 7 promises for those who remember the poor. Okay.
That's so good. I have a similar heart to you. I want to see people's needs get met. And I thank you for just creating an awareness. I think not only for me, but for all the people that are watching and listening about the need that's out there, how vast the need is for people, you know, and children, especially in our world that aren't even getting basic needs met. You know, they need water, they need food. A lot of these children are on the street, you know, people that have suffered, you know, through these landmines, and the suffering is just huge, right? On a scale that I don't think we realize. And when we live in America, we are so blessed on so many levels. And so thank you for creating that awareness for us and just kind of encouraging us. We can all do something, right? I mean, hey, if we have a quarter in our pocket, we're wealthier than, what most of the world.
2/3 of the world.
2/3. Thank you. So thank you so much, Pastor Tracy, for joining us today here on Support Someone Saturday. And thank you all for tuning in and watching and listening on this podcast. If you are out there, maybe your family, your small group, your neighborhood, your school group, youth group, whatever, wants to get involved and pack meals, hey, maybe you live in the right county or the right state where you can do that. So we're seeing things open up, and I'm believing even more. So you can check out the website for Feeding Children Worldwide. It is just that, feedingchildrenworldwide.com, and I'll put that up on the screen, and we'll also share your email and phone number. So I encourage you to check it out. Maybe you want to be a part of the President's Club. I think you said $1,000 or more a year, which is like about $100 a month. And that all goes toward the meals. Or you said you can support a child in the Philippines, a street child, for $100. Or maybe you just say, hey, I want to do something. You know, any amount that you give will be helpful to what they're doing at Feeding Children Worldwide. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you, Pastor Tracy, for coming on and sharing your heart. And I hope you all have a blessed Saturday.
Thank you.